And now, it is my honor to introduce the graduation keynote speaker. She is a longtime champion of Europe and is currently focusing on building a better California where working people thrive through the Better Careers Initiative at the James Irvine Foundation. She has more than 30 years of experience investing in communities here in the Bay Area and across the country. And I think you'll see her as an outstanding leader who puts love at the center of her work. Please welcome someone who has dedicated her career to empowering communities and individuals. Senior Program Officer with the James Irvine Foundation, Kelley Gulley.
I'm going to move Augustine's book and put mine up. Don't mind. Good morning. What a blessing it is to be here today. They'll probably have to turn the mic down and have a big booming voice. So thank you so much, Augustine, for that incredible introduction. I'm humbled and honored to be your keynote speaker this afternoon, and I truly appreciate the hard work that it has taken for you to get here today. Please give yourselves another round of applause. It's awesome. It's a big deal. So, full disclosure, I'm an ordained minister. Don't be alarmed. I'm not gonna give you a 60-minute sermon today. Instead, I'll tell you a few stories from my life with a few key principles that I hope you will remember and add to your toolkit of wisdom that you will need as you journey into the world of work. I'll start with the first principle. It's very simple, 2 words: don't quit. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile, but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is crazy with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a failure turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You might succeed with another blow. Often the struggler has given up when she might have captured the victor's cup. And she learned too late when the night came down how close she was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit. Don't quit. That's number 1. I'm going to give you 4. That's the first one. As part of going through the process of joining Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority in college, I had to memorize this poem called Don't Quit. I didn't appreciate the words at the time, but it's interesting how these words truly connect to what Mom and Dad always told me and my brother and my 2 sisters when we were growing up. They said, don't quit. No matter what you do, stick it out until the end, but don't quit in the middle. So when I watched track meets on TV, I loved how they competed, and I decided that I wanted to run track. I was in the middle school, and I wanted that excitement of running track. So I joined the track team, and I hated it. I didn't realize that watching people run was more fun than running myself. I came home after the first 2 weeks complaining to my mom and dad about how hard it was and how it wasn't fun and how I wasn't very good at it. And they said, you cannot quit in the middle of the season. Once the season is over, you don't have to run track again. But like we always tell all of you, you have to finish what you start. So I wasn't allowed to quit track and many other things that I tried to get out of as a teenager. And as you might guess, I didn't join the track team the next year. I also raised my kids in that same way and gave them that same message from my parents. My parents are still a critical anchor in my life. I truly listen to them now and value their wisdom and opinions, even though when I was your age, I was a knucklehead and I didn't listen to everything that they told me, so I had to learn some things the hard way. I was born in 1962. I know that's ancient to many of you. Our country was in the midst of the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement. There were so many things going on. We had issues with race, crime, all kinds of things, almost like exactly what we see in the newspapers on today. My incredible parents, Margaret and Frank Lomax, intentionally broke the cycle of generational poverty, alcoholism, and domestic violence in our family. They experienced that in their families. Because when they got married 60 years ago, and they are still married, they decided our kids will not see or experience the kinds of things we experienced as kids. The buck stops here, and they kept their promise to us. You see, although my grandmothers were loving and kind as they raised their children, both of my grandfathers struggled with alcoholism, which led to episodes of domestic violence in the home. I once asked my dad why he thought Grandpa drank alcohol and became violent. He said Grandpa was a proud man, very smart, always loved to be dressed in the finest suits and hats when he went out on the town in Akron, Ohio. He said, I think it was the oppression that drove him to drink. He could never be who he knew he was inside of himself. He dealt with racism and other issues outside of the home, at work, or in the community that he never talked about, yet he drank to drive away the pain and the fear of living the existence that he lived. This story leads me to my second life principle. Don't let society define who you are. You are the keeper of your own identity. You are the one who controls your decisions and reactions to what people do or say to you, to your friends, or to your family. I say this because it always breaks my heart when I see a young person who has so much promise and so much potential let something happen at a party or an argument in the street, let them just pop off, do something, and turn the whole thing around. In one instant, life can change. Don't let that happen to you. You've worked too hard to get to this day of accomplishment. So I promised I wouldn't preach a 60-minute sermon, and I'm not. But our third life principle is a scripture in the Bible. In the book of James, chapter 1, verse 19, this is one of my life principles that helps me to deal with frustrations and challenges at work, at home, in church, and other places. It's really simple. I want you to repeat after me. My dear brothers and sisters, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. That was good. Let's say it one more time. Everybody in the whole crowd say it this time. My dear brothers and sisters, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Another way of saying this is, dear friends, lead with your ears, follow with your tongue, and let anger straggle in the rear. Unfortunately, we get this backwards most of the time. Instead of listening, then speaking, then getting angry, we get angry first, just pop off, which includes speaking and saying things that we're not quite proud of and using words that we're not quite proud of. And in our fury, after our fury, sometimes we begin to listen and then regret what just happened. So I want you to make sure that you think about this, especially in the world of work, especially when you go to work. The workplace is where we spend most of our time when we work full time. The majority of our days are spent at work. Everyone is not going to like you, agree with you, or support you. You will run into managers and project directors that are awesome mentors and people with skills and management skills that love to help you develop and grow. And then you'll run into others that say that they support you and they like you and they're doing things for you, and they're actually doing the opposite. This principle of being quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry will help you with those folks, I promise. So what does this look like in action? Here's a short story that'll help you. This past summer, I was in Israel on an 18-day study tour, talking with someone who has completely opposite political views to mine. She was saying some things that I totally, and I mean totally, disagreed with. I felt myself getting angry. I could have popped off and ended the conversation abruptly like we see so many people do, but instead, I started whispering to myself, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. I said it like 12 times. It was that kind of conversation. I just was quiet. So, however, as she kept talking, I truly started listening to what she was saying, and it made me wonder where her beliefs came from. She grew up in a completely different neighborhood, culture, and political context than I did. The more I listened, the more intrigued I became about her life and her worldview. So when I finally spoke, I didn't try to defend my beliefs. Instead, I asked her some questions about her life, and it opened her up to talking about other things. I felt the anger dissipating, and truly, by the end of the conversation, I realized that we had more in common than we had that was different. As I said, our politics were very different, but our beliefs, we are both Christian. Our interest, we were both on the same study tour. Our role, she's a mom and so am I, were very much the same. It was fascinating how leading with my ears instead of my initial anger helped me form a new friendship instead of creating a new enemy. Well, I know I'm getting close to my time, so I'm going to give you one final principle that is also 2 words: no regrets. I learned this 4th life principle of no regrets from my little girl, Erica Danielle Gulley. We call her Little Miss Erica, and she lives with Jesus. Erica left here at the age of 3 years old after being diagnosed with an extremely rare blood disease, which she essentially overcame with medications and treatment. Then when she was 2, she was diagnosed with liver cancer. We were devastated. It was the first time that the medical field had a patient with this severe blood disease plus liver cancer. There was no medical history to guide us or give us wisdom, and we had so many hard decisions to make. My husband Dominic and I worked in partnership with our pediatrician, Dr. Charles Schlossman at Kaiser Santa Clara. When it was time for us to make a hard decision about treatment or surgery or something else, Dr. Schlossman would say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Gulley, here are the facts and here are the options. We have to make a decision, but remember how we do this. And we would say, yes, we remember, no regrets. We agreed that whatever decision we made for Erica, that it was the decision. And we would not have any regrets and wonder what would have happened if we had made a different decision. So we truly have no regrets with every decision we made, including the decision toward the end of her life to allow her to live life to its fullest until she passed away peacefully in her sleep. I invite you to live a life of no regrets. When you have several options before you, listen to your parents, your mentors, and others who offer you wisdom. Consider your choices. Make the best choice that is aligned with what you know is best at the time, and lean into that decision without looking back to regret that you didn't do something different. No regrets. Our daughter Raquel, who is now a wife, mom, and therapist working with children who go through crisis and trauma, was only 5 years old when her sister passed away. Our 24-year-old son, Dominic Jr., DJ, who is serving our country in the United States Navy, was born after Erica died. We tell her whole story in our book called Erica's Story, if you'd ever like to learn more about and be encouraged by this amazing journey of life that we had. Raquel always wanted to celebrate Erica's birthday, even after she passed away, which we didn't think was healthy, but God fixed that. DJ was due on July 3rd, 1990, and was prematurely born on Erica's birthday on May 28th, 1990, 5 years to the day that Erica was born. So Raquel got her wish of being able to continue having a May 28th birthday party, and I know this will be hard for you to believe, but Raquel has a daughter, Carmen Erica Denise Moore. She's named after her auntie. And a son, our little grandson, Ricky Stanley Moore III, who was due on June 17th, 2019, and was also born prematurely on May 28th, 2019. It's a very special day of remembrance and celebration in our family. And we really think that Erica is up in heaven working some things out and telling God, that's my day, let's just triple down on that. So in closing, I'm gonna review our 4 life principles for you to take with you into the world of work. Number 1, don't quit. Number 2, don't let society define who you are. You are the keeper of your own identity. Number 3, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And number 4, no regrets. I'll end with a poem by Langston Hughes called Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I've been a-climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark, where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on those steps, 'cause you finds it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Thank you.